Good afternoon, everyone. As I'm speaking about well-being, I hope you all had, I'm sorry, I hear the Polish really loud. Could you turn that a bit down? Because I hear the Polish translation at the same time. So I hope you all had, as I'm talking about well-being, you had a little nice lunch break and are ready for our input on digital well-being. Today I will speak about our new material on managing digital stress and promoting online well-being, which we also translated for this conference. So it will soon be available in Polish as download version and ready for you to use. I'm pretty sure that many of you, or probably most of you, have experienced something similar, like in this picture. You actually wanted to put your smartphone away a long time ago, but somehow you're still glued to your device. So you're scrolling through posts, you're clicking to see which series your streaming provider recommends via push messages, or you're swiping away the latest news from your news app. So we get the impression that the pull of the digital is getting stronger and stronger, and many of us are finding it increasingly difficult to control it. And if we just think about the pandemic, so during this time, this effect, of course, was increased when many of us were literally in shutdowns, and many of us, the whole world took place online. So it completely absorbed us, which on the one hand, of course, was really good because it was the only way to stay in touch with people. But also on the other hand, it meant that we were always on all of the time. And we know that for many people, both individuals and families, this caused stress as well. So the question really is, how do we move to Ommh instead? This whole topic is a trending topic, and providers have now also recognized that digital well-being plays an important role, and they have therefore introduced special functions to help us control our online usage behavior. So the whole theme of controlling digital well-being fits with the trend of managing our health online. So you have a healthy lifestyle that is supported by digital technology. So you can track your sleep, you can track what you eat, you can track how many steps you make in a day, etc. And this, of course, creates a feeling that you can control your behavior with the help of technology. On the one hand, this is good because it can be helpful to have an overview, just to know how you spend your time online. And sometimes I'm really surprised by it as well. Did I really just spend 6 hours with my phone yesterday? But also qualitatively, what have I actually done? So you have to know your weak points in order to change your behavior. But on the other hand, it also means that providers also make it easy for themselves by passing on the responsibility to the users, because they intentionally design their offers in such a way that they encourage addictive behavior. And here I like to quote the Netflix CEO, who once said, "The biggest challenge to our business is the human need for sleep." And this is probably not just the attitude of Netflix. So we have to be aware that for providers, it's still their business to hold digital attention. And so in my opinion, the interesting questions are, how do we achieve a digital balance? How do we manage to escape the addictive networks? And how do we deal with content from the web that is not good for us? And the goal of this presentation is to educate about the strategies of the providers, as well as the appeal of social media, and to provide educational professionals with tools to increase the digital well-being of young people. And by a healthy balance, I mean that it also means it includes doing without media at times. It also means that you know which content is good for you. And social media often isn't good for young people because we know it can have negative effects, for instance, on young girls in terms of body image or perfect lifestyle. It also means using media in a creative way. And it also means promoting fair communication rules to improve well-being online. What about young people's digital well-being? Do they actually feel stressed by media, or is this just something that adults think about young people? So here I'm quoting numbers from Germany, but I'm pretty sure that the situation is similar in Poland. And we know from a German study from 2020, it shows that almost 10% of young people show a risky media usage behavior. This was during the pandemic, but I think it's probably similar nowadays. So if you think about about an average school class, an average classroom, 2 or 3 young people probably will have a problematic media usage behavior. So using media isn't just fun, but it can cause distraction. It can lead to concentration problems. It can mean that you're tired in the morning due to the lack of sleep. You just want to watch one more episode, one more, and then you're constantly tired. So it can have serious effects on you. It can also cause stress, as a study from the Austrian Safe Internet Center shows, where about 60% of the young people say if they receive messages or if they send messages, they expect answers to their messages within minutes. So if adults say, just put it away and answer the next morning, this is not okay for young people. And according to the same study, about 1/3 of all young people, they feel stress regularly because of media. So I think it is an important issue, and I think it also belongs into the classroom. It's not just something that is private. So it is important to give young people time to speak about their experience and not to judge their behavior as right or wrong, but to work out solutions together. And I will show you some practical examples later on. Of course, this topic is also relevant to families, and I know in many families there are discussions about the media use of young people, and many parents are worried about overuse of their children. Parents also often wonder if their child might be addicted to media, and for this we have developed a checklist that allows just an initial assessment. It also helps to start a conversation about this rather problematic topic. So it's also available in Polish, so please feel free to check it out and to share it with families. So what influences our digital well-being? Well, first of all, there are certain strategies that make us stay on our devices as long as possible, and I will talk about this in a moment. Another factor are social comparisons on social media. I think just last week, an internal paper from Facebook was leaked that showed that about 1/3 of teenage girls feel bad due to the pressure on Instagram. The third factor is permanent exposure. It's just everywhere all of the time. So always on is a topic. And of course, and this is a topic of its own, but negative content also has an influence on our well-being online. So what is the fascination of social media anyway, and why does its use impact our well-being? It's quite clear it's about attention. So something like the like button and the number of people who follow you, it can give you positive affirmation. And we also do know that positive comments activate brain areas that are responsible for feeling happy. So dopamine is released, which is also the case with sports, for instance. So something like a runner's high is very similar to receiving positive comments on social media. So it can make us happy and we want more of it. And this can lead to digital dependence if it is uncontrolled. And the effects are similar to the use of nicotine or alcohol. So permanent smartphone use has consequences in our bodies, and we should be aware of those negative effects, and we should know how to counter it and use it in a way that is good for us. One thing to be aware of are the so-called nudging strategies. The providers of large services, they are interested in keeping us on their platforms for as long as possible, of course. This not only allows them to show more ads, but it also gives them additional information so they know more about users' habits and interests. So developers are therefore constantly working on new strategies. And those so-called nudging strategies, they direct and control the attention of users. And here are some popular examples. On the left picture, you can see the autoplay function. I'm pretty sure that most of you know it. So it's used on YouTube, for instance, but it's not just YouTube, but basically anywhere. So it means that a new video will start automatically. So they show you content according to your interests. So they have personalized suggestions. So it's more likely that you will watch it. And this can also be found on many other services. If you think about Instagram, you have those stories on top. So at first you see the stories from people you follow, but then you will just see other stories. So it will never end. And if you think about the scrolling function, there literally is no end in social media. In the next picture, you see like for part 2. This is another strategy to divide content into smaller bits and pieces, the so-called microstories, so that users want to see more. They will watch the next video. So they use means that are popular, you know, that from TV series, something like cliffhangers, to hold the viewer's attention. The third one in the next picture, you see it says suggestions for you. Sorry, it's only in German, but in the translation you will have Polish examples. You see an example for personalized content. So when you follow someone, they will point out other services that you could follow as well. So here, this is a popular news channel, so they are suggesting other popular news channels to me. And last but not least, clickbait is also a popular strategy. That means sensational presentation headlines, so that you will click on it because you want to know more. You want to know the answer to the question. What can be done about these functions? Well, on the one hand, you need to know about them. We also have a practical project for this in the material. And of course, you can also make settings, both in the services and also in the device settings. So here you can see some examples from the services where you can change the settings accordingly. So you can turn off those functions. You won't receive push notifications, for instance, if you find them disturbing, or you can mute group chats if you don't want to follow. If you want to know more what can be done in each of those services, this is also included step by step in the material for different providers. And of course, you can also adjust the settings in your operating system. This is available both for Android and iOS devices. And you also have other apps with similar functions that monitor your user behavior. So you can monitor your screen time, you can set limits, and this can also be used as a parental control tool if you want to. But in addition to these rather technical possibilities, it is, of course, also important to address the social component, especially for adolescents. So for young people, social networks are very important for staying in touch with others. They allow them to connect with their peers and also offer orientation. And since social networks also measure popularity, they need to learn how to deal with feedback mechanisms such as likes, comments, numbers of followers. And this can have both positive and negative consequences. So it can lead to social pressure, or it can provide them with a recognition that everyday life doesn't have in store. One interesting aspect is social comparison. This isn't new, but it becomes relevant with social media. When people compare themselves with others, they make a social comparison. And when they think that the other ones are doing better, it will more likely have a negative effect on their well-being. This is what is called upward comparison. And we can see that a lot in terms of negative perception of their body or generally their lifestyle. And on the other hand, downward comparison means that you compare yourself with other people who you think are doing worse, and this will more likely help to improve to your self-awareness. So what are the consequences of those social comparisons? And as these numbers show, people tend to make more upwards comparisons than equal or downward comparisons. And this can have a negative consequences, such as low self-esteem, depression, poor body image, or generally dissatisfaction with their life. And if we look at social media, we can say that this effect is increased, as usually people only share the best moments of their life. Due to social comparison, people determine their self-worth based on attractiveness, wealth, and success of others. And as young people are looking for orientation, they tend to compare themselves constantly with others, both from their peer group as well as their online role models. And here they make more upward comparisons. So those negative effects, they are immediate. They take place after a couple of minutes, and they are also continuous as they use content repeatedly throughout the day. So in order to make young people aware of these risks, we have developed practical projects for the classroom. I don't know if I have any time left to speak a little bit more about them, or if time is up. Can anyone give me a short sign? I can talk about it. So one is dedicated to digital dependence. So here the youngsters learn to Okay, so I hope you got interested, and please have a look at it, check it out. It's available in Polish soon. Thank you very much for your attention.
Stefanie, thank you so very much for this excellent presentation. And in the meantime, as you spoke, you received so many positive comments. So they all ask you when the Polish version will be available and when can they get hold of the materials. And I'm going to preempt on Stefanie. This will be sent out to you together with the evaluation form. One question that I found fascinating, Stefanie, why don't you help me to figure it out? Just let me take this question. Let me find it. So we are striving to create such young people that will be helpless without internet and without mobile. Is it a good thing?
Sorry, what is it, a good thing?
Our efforts go in the direction of making young people unable to cope without internet, without smartphone. What do you think about it?
I think the relevant thing is to have a balance. So for really young people, it's good that the digital is just something they experience very limited, but when they grow up, of course, it takes up more time. I mean, if I think about myself, I'm online all of the time, so finding this balance is really important. And when I think about younger children, often digital media have some sort of distraction, so they are not really used to being bored, for instance. They don't know what to do if they have just time without digital media. So if you use digital media at a very young age and it's used just as a babysitter, then it can be problematic. So I think it has to be something that is done step by step, and it's for younger children. It's very important that parents keep attention, that there is a balance, and it's not something like a babysitter because it's easier for everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much, Stefanie. Thank you for this excellent presentation, and see you very soon. Thank you.